You got to stop throwing 20 different random texture PNGs at your design. And by you, I also mean me, because designers, me included, are massively overcomplicating texture. We've got folders full of 1,000 random PNG textures. We choose the blend modes almost at random, and a lot of it feels like back and forth guesswork. But texture is a science, literally, and it's a lot easier than you think. Once you understand it, you'll never texture the same way again. What's going on, y'all? My name is Duran with DuranSupply.com, here to help you design smarter, not harder. I feel like texture is misunderstood at its core. It's not random. It can be, and it's actually great to get loose and experimental with it, but you can only break the rules once you know the rules. Yes, you can just drag in random PNGs and choose blend modes at random, and you'll get by. But mostly, that's a Hail Mary. So let's take a scientific look at texture. Texture can be boiled down to two components, micro and macro detail. Micro detail is the fine surface stuff. It's paper fibers, those little bumps in the fiber, speckles and subtle grain. It's high frequency detail. Macro detail is the bigger tonal variation. It's the fading, the uneven lighting, and so on. These are low frequency details. Both are very important, but personally, when I hear a designer talk about texture, I feel like they're usually referring to this micro detail, like grain, and designers love grain. I'm guilty myself. But here's the problem. This digital grain is probably the most lifeless version of texture that you can settle for. It's literally mathematical, and it just looks digital. Even the new grain adjustment layer, it's a step up for sure, especially over the filter noise, which was, if you use that, I don't have words for you. But even the greatness of this new grain adjustment layer, I still don't think it's the gold standard. It's good, but it's not great. It just doesn't feel physical. So what actually makes this micro texture look real? You guessed it, it's real texture. The answer to texture is way simpler than people think. You don't need 15 different textures for one design. You honestly just need one, maybe two, but not just any one texture. You need a neutral lit, mostly gray texture. That's it. You set this to something like overlay or hard light, and you're already 90% of the way there. One texture, one blend mode, that's it. But you probably already know this. If you've ever added grain to a 50% gray layer and set that to overlay, it's the same concept. But for some reason, many designers stop there. They don't take the concept further than that. Why stop at this digital noise? Real paper textures can work the same exact way and look much better. And here's what people don't realize. You can transform any texture into one of these neutral lit overlay textures. Here's how. Take your texture and use levels to bring it closer to a neutral tone. So if your texture isn't a smart object already, go ahead and make it into a smart object. Then open levels with Command or Control L on your keyboard and bring this midtone slider closer to wherever the center is of that distribution curve on the histogram. You can see what this does a little bit better on a less saturated texture. So for example, this one right here, I'll bring the midtone slider to the center of this distribution curve. And even though this is tinted green a bit, the tone or the luminosity is closer to a 50% gray, which you can see if I turn the saturation all the way down and check out the levels histogram. We now have that midtone slider almost perfectly in the middle of that distribution curve. And that signifies to us that this texture is close to a 50% gray, meaning it will work super well as an overlay. So when you set this to something like overlay or any of the overlay blend modes, it's not going to significantly darken or lighten or just alter any parts of your artwork that you don't really want it to. It's mostly going to ingrain it with that fine surface detail. But of course, not all textures are made equal. So for example, something like this with really contrasting, light and dark values. If I were to set this to overlay, we'd get these really bright spots and these really dark spots on our poster. Even if we adjust it to bring it closer to a neutral gray, those overarching light values or that macro detail is really pushing through here, and that may not be something that we want in our poster. If it is, all power to you. This is where experimentation comes in. But right now, I'm just going to focus on what I believe is the foundation of good texture, and that is the micro detail. So in that case, we can do something really interesting. You may have heard of something called frequency separation, which is a common technique used by photo retouchers to split an image into two distinct components. The high frequency component, which is the fine surface texture of it, for example, someone's skin, and the low frequency component, which is the overarching color and tone, which may be, how the light is hitting someone's face, and the value transitions that show the shape of the face or the object. And that same exact philosophy can also be applied to something like texturing a poster. So we can actually separate out all the high frequency, fine surface texture in here and use that independently from this macro, tonal detail here, which we may not want. And that can be done easily on any texture by simply going up to Filter, Other, and running a high pass filter on this texture. And as you can see, any of that overarching tonal variation is gone. The texture is instantly reduced to almost a 50% gray. And if you zoom in, it's actually only retaining those super high frequency details. And actually, the higher you turn the radius, the higher you tune this to filter in some of that overarching tone. So honestly, the radius is something that you could just play with. But to filter out that really fine detail, you generally want to keep the radius on the lower side. Now when we set this texture to overlay, you're now left with that pure surface texture. No big tonal distractions, just that really fine micro detail. And this is a great and a way more realistic alternative to something like grain. And that is the foundation of all good texturing. But it only gets more interesting from here. Let's talk blend modes. Overlay is beautiful and soft and subtle. It gently ingrains that texture without overpowering anything, which makes it perfect as a subtle finishing texture, especially in place of grain. But I'd be remiss to not admit that I, and you probably too, like to go overboard, okay? Sometimes you want those really nice heavy scan lines in the darks and that dirty speckled grit in the lights, and overlay just can't do that alone. But it's a great starting point. So here's where things get crazy. Now change your texture blend mode to something like hard or vivid light, and go ahead and clip a levels adjustment to this texture layer. Now you can easily decide which parts of the artwork receive texture and how much. You can push texture more into the shadows or more into the highlights. You can also increase the intensity of this texture by playing with the contrast, aka bringing the black and white handles in closer towards the midtone handle. It doesn't even have to be a levels adjustment, of course. This can be a curves layer or a brightness and contrast adjustment. It's whatever you prefer, but I just like using levels. And one more thing, you're probably going to want to go into the blending options of this layer by double clicking and uncheck blend clipped layers as a group. So much control with just one texture and one blending mode. Technically, you can do all of this with most regular PNG textures, but there's one format that brings this whole system together for super efficient texturing. I'm talking about seamless texture patterns. Instead of dragging in a texture, scaling it, and worrying about edges and cropping, a seamless pattern can instantly fill your canvas in one click, and it tiles perfectly so you can scale it up or down. And also because of that, it feels like you have 100 textures in one, and it's one hell of a way to streamline your workflow. I have over 70 of these seamless texture patterns, and they're made from real ink, print, paper, and scans. And I built these because this has become my default workflow. I needed seamless, neutral, high-res textures that could tile across my whole canvas and be easily scaled to my liking. But the best part is that they're engineered to work perfectly as either a subtle overlay or an all-in-one texturing solution. And this is actually the most recent update of my printer noise kit. If you already bought printer noise, this update is free. Just re-download it from your portal. If you haven't bought it yet, I got you. First of all, just imagine the feeling of opening a present on Christmas Day. That's genuinely what downloading this will feel like, I promise you. And you can use the code YouTube15 for 15% off of your order. If this workflow interests you, you can get that kit on discount in the description below. Plus, I'm about to show you step-by-step my foolproof system that I use to texture every time. But again, you don't have to use my textures by any means to make use of this system. I just recommend it. So here's what I do for texturing almost every time now. Step 1, choose a seamless pattern from the kit. Step 2, set the blend mode based on the look you're going for. Overlay for subtle realism, or hard or vivid light if I want stronger print-like interaction. Step 3, set the scale and position of the pattern to your liking. As you can see, it's pretty cool to see the difference between this pattern at, say, 23% scale versus 80%. It looks like two entirely different textures. Step 4, clip a levels or whatever adjustment layer you like to this pattern layer. And from here, you can dial in exactly how this texture interacts with the tonal range of the poster. I can bring more scan lines into the darks by dragging in the white handle of the levels here, and maybe balancing that out by dragging the midtones a little bit to the right. I can add a little more grit and contrast to the lights by dragging the black handle inwards, and again adjusting the midtone slider a bit to make sure I have the exact balance that I want between the texture interaction with the darks and the lights. And if I'm not feeling this texture, one of the great things about it is you could simply click on this pattern fill layer, and then in your patterns window, just click on any of these patterns, and it's going to instantly change that pattern to whatever you click on. And that makes swapping out your textures extremely easy. You can see that no matter what texture I choose, it automatically fills out my whole canvas. And honestly, no matter what I choose here, you can't really go wrong because all of these textures are made from real paper, real scans, and they just look so damn good. I'm sorry, but I'm really happy with how this kit came out. It's like my new favorite thing. It just makes the whole texturing process so easy and seamless. Literally, there's so much to choose from, and it's just such a modular system. Again, being able to swap out those textures or change the scale on command almost instantaneously. I just absolutely love it. And don't forget, you can get a little bit of a different interaction with the artwork if you go into the blending options of the texture layer and turn on or off blend clip layers as group. So that's kind of personal preference and depends on the artwork at hand. But even with the perfect overlays, your artwork may still feel digital since it was made digitally and therefore has perfectly cut out lines and perfectly arranged pixels. So now let's add a little bit of ink bleed to this and get it fully realistic. By the way, huge shout out to @kiddo__studio for letting me use this artwork for this presentation. And also shout out to @BBE Kaya, I hope I pronounced that right, and my homeboy Eli @ToastedByEli as well for letting me use their beautiful artworks to display these textures on. So on your artwork smart object, we're going to start off with a little bit of gauge and blur. So go up to blur, gauge and blur, and I like to use something really, really tiny here. So just about 0.5 pixels will do. Let's zoom in real close so we can get a nice view of what we're doing here. Press OK. Then we're going to slap a crystallize on here. So that's in pixelate and then crystallize. And I like keeping this at the absolute lowest setting, which is a cell size of 3. Press OK there. And that's already going to distort those perfect edges and get this a little bit closer to a realistic print and that ink bleed that happens. So crystallize itself is great because it gives that little slight distress across these edges. But on a broader scale, we need some more variation in the distorted quality of these hard edges. So now let's throw on a really slight motion blur. We'll go up to blur and then motion blur. The angle, I like to make this something like 50 or 45 and change the distance to something really low, like 2 or 3. And actually, I swapped the order of these by accident, so go ahead and drag that motion blur all the way down towards the first filter at the bottom, and then drag the Gaussian blur as the final blur on top. Now let's add a lesser known filter that I actually learned about from that 25-year-old Photoshop book that I just made a video on in my last video, but it's pretty cool. So go up to filter, filter gallery, and in brush strokes, we're gonna choose splatter. And this sort of works like crystallize, but on a broader scale, and it's gonna get us more variations in the edges or the roughness of this type especially. I like to turn the smoothness all the way up, and the spray radius depends on how intense you want this to be. I'm gonna keep it around 5 to 10, press OK there. And as you can see, that gets a little more variation in the distress of those edges, which I really like as a complement to the crystallize and the blurs. And we're almost done here, but just turning these filters on and off, you can see a massive difference in the realism of this. Obviously, those really sharp pixel perfect edges make this look more digital. And just by tacking a few filters on here, we can easily emulate a printed look. Finally, we're just going to sharpen this up a bit by going up to filter and then unsharp mask inside of sharpen. Here you can get creative. This kind of depends on your poster and you know what images and text are in there. But I like to put the amount real high first and then turn up the radius to see just how far I can push it. But typically you kind of want to keep the radius on the lower side just to sharpen up those really fine details and then start bringing the amount back down so it's not too harsh of an effect. And boom, that's it. That is my perfect filter gallery stack for subtle ink bleed and print imperfection. You can see the massive difference with the before and after of these few filters. And this is extremely, extremely important to getting that realistic printed look along with the textures for your artwork. So that really, really helped to simulate ink behavior and bring everything together. Of course, paired with the texture on top, this is looking really, really good. And that's most of the job. You can leave it like this, but sometimes I like to add another pass just to really dial in that realism. So I'll just repeat the process or make it easier by putting the levels and pattern in a group and then duplicating that group. And on this iteration of the texture, you want to set the blend mode to multiply. And that's going to really affect those light colors, which is integral to a vintage faded paper look. Obviously, adjust the levels of this to match. We don't want it to be too heavy. And I typically also like to add a color balance clipped to this pattern as well, and just crank up the yellow and the red splatters here. So that's going to tint this towards more of a vintage paper feel. You can even do the same thing with the original texture layer as well if you want, you know, more of a certain tint across the shadows or across the whole poster. And that's a really simple way to give this some more life. So you can either use color balance to add some sort of tint. I like making the textures a bit warmer typically. So you can even use the photo filter, which just adds, it's just a warming filter. So that's a really easy way to add a warm touch to this texture and make it feel just a little bit more realistic. I pretty much always set it up like this, but if you want, you could do the reverse and set the pattern layer to screen instead. And now it's going to affect the darks, obviously adjust the levels to match. But if you want more, texture strictly in the darks or the blacks of your poster, this is a great way to get a little bit more control over that. The real fun thing about it is you can add some subtle complexity by making this texture pattern a different one from the other texture. So we can click around here and just see what looks good. And that makes it really easy to get that complexity of texture, combining multiple textures into this final artwork and making it look real close to an actual print. I mean, just look at the difference here. This is done with just 1 or 2 texture layers, and that's it. There's no chaos. There's no 40 different PNG textures with, 5 different blending modes. It's a controlled texture system that works pretty much every time. It's like garlic powder and onion powder. You don't even think about adding them to the recipe. It's default, it's classic, it's evergreen. And combining these printer noise texture patterns with that really nice but subtle filter gallery stack for that ink bleed, it's just so good. And that's it, y'all. Texture does not have to be complicated, and it shouldn't be. It could be simple and effective, and most of all, intentional and repeatable and awesome and cool and fun. Once you understand the different frequencies of texture, the overarching low frequency tones versus the high frequency micro, tiny little surface texture, and how blend modes modulate that, you can stop guessing and hoarding all of these textures. You can keep it simple. Again, you don't need any of my textures to do any of this. I just highly recommend it, of course, because I built them for this exact workflow. And like I always say, I would never suggest that you guys use something that I don't personally believe in or use. That's why every tool and asset that I sell is something that I use myself, and I personally believe and know that it will help your workflow. I wasted too much time doing texture guesswork before I realized it can be easy once you break it down. So I hope you learned something just like I did. And if you want to check out that seamless workflow, the updated printer noise kit is linked below, and you can use the code YouTube15 for 15% off of your order. And remember, if you bought that in the past, you get the update for free. So just go ahead and re-download that from your user portal. If this helped you at all, let me know down in the comments, and go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I post a ton of videos just like this to help you design smarter. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one. I love y'all. Peace out.